Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Thunderbolts #1, cover dated April 1997. So 1997 is the year that Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee took charge of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and other major Marvel heroes, and they were all off in the Heroes Reborn Pocket Universe. And in the meantime, that left a gap for a new superhero team in the Marvel Universe, in the regular Marvel Universe. Enter the Thunderbolts, Justice Like Lightning. So the Thunderbolts had first appeared in Incredible Hulk issue 449, authored by Peter David. And in that particular issue, they presented themselves as a pretty standard new superhero team. And it was only in this issue, the debut issue of the solo title, that there came the surprise twist at the end. So I'm cognizant that at the moment the Thunderbolts movie is out on cinema screens. The date of recording here is May 2025. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do think it's a good time to revisit the origin of the IP and that particular title, Thunderbolts. So this is a double-sized debut issue. There's 38 pages of story and art inside. The cover here is by Mark Bagley, inked by Vince Russell. It's a pretty well-designed first cover. It's not wraparound or anything like that. We have the lightning bolt there. We have the green background. Apparently the second print, because this did go to second print, the second printing of this issue has a red background behind the lightning. So you can check your own copy if you have one, or if you're out hunting for this as a back issue, be alert to the fact that the fact that the green background is an indication of the first printing and a red background behind the lightning is an indication of a second printing. So we'll have to get inside this issue to learn the names of all of these different characters, and let's open it up to the splash page. So like I said, we have a recap here regarding the events of Onslaught and the translation of the Marvel superheroes apparently sacrificing their lives in Central Park to take on Onslaught and end his threat. They apparently died, but we know as readers that they went to this Heroes Reborn Pocket Universe. So there they are there, the news reporters catching readers up on the terrible price paid by the superheroes. We turn the page, we get a double page splash here. So you can see all the wreckage and carnage from Onslaught. We've got a big sentinel head there. That's pretty well done by Mark Bagley. And the title of the story is Like a Lightning. And the creative team here, a little difficult to read. Kurt Busiek, writer, Mark Bagley, penciler, Vince Russell, inker, Comic Crafts, Dave and Oscar on the digital lettering, and Joe Rosas on the digital colors. So something to note here is Kurt Busiek. How would Marvel readers have known him up to this point? Well, they would have known him primarily as the author of Marvels, with the art by Alex Ross. So that was a very celebrated series prior to this. And with Heroes Return, Kurt Busiek would take over as writer of Avengers. And part of the reason he got that gig was the success of this new title. So the reporter continues with things that readers know. And meanwhile, on the bottom part of the page, something interesting is happening in this series of panels. When Helen Takahama watches the news crew from across the expanse of rubble. If she could reach them, she'd be safe. But to reach them, she'd have to cross open space. And she's learned to fear open space these last few weeks. Open space and what might lurk in the shadows. But she's starving and she's tired of hiding from the rats, the dogs, the gangs, and worse. She's got to take the chance, got to make her move. But who is this masked person that chloroforms her? The world reels around her and then goes dark. He says, "Nothing personal, kiddo, but you're alone, helpless, and nobody will miss you. And that makes you just what I'm looking for." So who is this figure in silhouette? Hale Takahama was celebrating her 15th birthday when she saw her parents crushed in front of her. This was in the business of Onslaught. Since then, she's learned a lot about survival and human nature. Unfortunately, her education's not over. So an intriguing opening. Kurt Busiek, ramping up the melodrama here with the abduction of this 15-year-old orphan. What's all of that going to lead to? Next up, the news reporter continues. Yes, the heroes sacrificed themselves for us and saved the world one last time. But what of the other menaces out there? What of the threats that remain, like the subterranean lava men and the other races said to live beneath the crust of the earth? What of extra-dimensional invaders like Blastar? It seems like there's hundreds of them out there, she says, or rather this guest says, and there's more every month, and we've just lost our best protectors, or more earthly dangers like the supervillain group called the Frightful Four, which has changed its membership over the years but never been permanently vanquished. So there are threats in the Marvel Universe that did not go over to the Heroes Reborn one, and who's going to deal with them? The superheroes we've got left, says this news reporter, they're pressed to the max, they can't handle everything. And what of the Masters of Evil, the virtual battalion of supercriminals, many of whom are currently at large, including their leader, Baron Zemo. So have a good look at these Masters of Evil, in particular this one back here, and remember them for later in the issue. So the cop here says, yeah, and look who we got left to tackle them. Mutant terrorists, kids, outlaw vigilantes, monsters like the Hulk. Not exactly the kind of people who make you feel safe in your bed, you know what I mean? So there's a gap in the market. The news reporter asks, who's going to save us now in the office? And so here we see the ruins of New York City, Manhattan, and we've got somebody in the shadows saying, this is 14, I'm on my way in. Good 14, nobody spotted you? You're joking, right? Says the character in silhouette. Let's turn the page. We're going to get a bit more information on what's going on here. They're called the Rat Pack, an elite paramilitary cadre of scavengers, thieves, and looters for hire. They're arguably the best in the world at what they do. So here they are with their spoils and everything that they've gathered up, but they're interrupted. Would have been good if this was on a page turn. Good afternoon, says somebody from off panel. And look at this. This is a great introduction to Citizen V. You're desecrating corpses, he says, with his sword pointed at them. Desecrating corpses and appropriating property that doesn't belong to you. So the Rat Pack members say, yeah, I never would have guessed. So who are you and what are you going to do about it? So we get an introduction here. My name is Citizen V. That's V, the letter, as in V for victory, not the Roman numeral. And I'm making a citizen's arrest. And he's got a little smile there that's showing beneath his mask. I like the design of Citizen V's costume. Obviously, he's draped in the American flag in the absence of Captain America. It's the colors work well. He looks like a swashbuckler as too. And of course, readers, wide-ranging readers of comics might be thinking of Alan Moore and David Lloyd's V for Vendetta as well, and whether there's some kind of allusion to that particular character as well. Certainly I wondered about that at the time. So the Rat Pack guys say, really, armed with nothing but a sword, you may find that difficult, Mr. V for victory. V here is not at all threatened by the combined members of the Rat Pack. He's smiling there. Let's turn the page. Could it be because he's got some backup? Yes, indeed. So big splash page there, full page image of the Thunderbolts. I didn't come alone, he exclaims. Allow me to introduce you to the Thunderbolts. Now remember what I said, they've already appeared in Incredible Hulk 449, so this is not a Marvel reader's first viewing of them, if they were reading Hulk at the time as I was. And back into the third person narration. The Rat Pack are professionals. The sudden arrival of more opponents only disorients them for a moment before they're bringing their weapons to bear. So we're going to get a fight, and by virtue of the fight we're going to learn the names of the different characters, we're going to learn about their different powers, but the costumes are all very well designed by Mark Bagley. They look well. So here we go, we're into the fight. We expect it in superhero comics. And let's learn who these different characters are. So Songbird here asks her compatriot, "You all right, Atlas?" So now we know his name. "Just fine, Songbird," he replies. So now we know her name. And this character here replies to this one saying Mach 1. So now we know his name. And this guy over here refers to her as Meteorite. So now we know her name. And Citizen V here is leading them into the fight. Enough braggadocio, Thunderbolts. We've made our introductions already. So let's show these gentlemen just what we can do. So the fight continues. I like the diagonal layout for the panel here. That's nicely done by Bagley, and it conveys the dynamism of the action. And we need to learn this guy's name. So Citizen V obliges there. Atlas, there's a nest of them at 9 o'clock. Techno, that's who this guy is. Take the ones on the high ground. So we see Atlas in action. He's got powers a little bit like Giant Man there. And Techno also has powers too. He says here, "Why should you have all the fun, Atlas? I'll configure my tech pack into a vibro generator that'll rattle these fools' skulls." So that's a power that he can do. I like that pose on Citizen V there as he's taking out those members of the Rat Pack with his sword and with a kick to the jaw for that particular one. But Atlas is shot by a bazooka from behind, or a rocket launcher, thinks Meteorite. That might be enough to get through even Atlas's skin, and they're readying another charge. If Techno had followed orders, he'd have taken care of them, but as it is, he left Atlas wide open. So that's a little clue that these new superheroes haven't been a team for very long, and or that they haven't trained and worked together very long, so they're not 100% acting as a fluid team. So Meteorite comes in to help out Atlas. Atlas there says, "I'm fine, thanks for the save." And meanwhile, there is a television news helicopter beaming back pictures of the fight. So in the mayor's office, Dallas Reardon is on the phone, and she says, she says here, "What, a super battle in one of the ruined neighborhoods? No, I hadn't heard. Which of our sadly depleted core of heroes are involved?" Let's turn the page. "What, new ones?" So she's taken aback. Remember her, she's going to come in again a little later in the issue. Meanwhile, back at the battle site, Citizen V there says, "You fight well, Rat Pack, even if your cause is debased, but your efforts are ultimately futile." So it looks like the Rat Pack even escape. Citizen V says, "Whatever's in that craft he just launched, it's worth keeping out of our hands. And that means I want it, Songbird. Mach 1, bring it back." So they fly into action. They use their powers. The woman called Songbird screams. In fact, she's been screaming all along. But it's not a scream of terror or even rage. It's a low-level subsonic trill. And as she modifies it, it interacts with the circuitry of the sophisticated mantle she wears. So that's around her neck there, neck and shoulders, to produce a sphere of solid sound that shields Mach 1 as effectively as her sound-generated wings keep her aloft. So she's asking him if he's okay. He's fine, he says. "Now, my systems are already rebooting. Now, turn me loose, will you, so I can give these slimy SOBs a little something in return." So he launches off some missiles there, but there is an attack back. The missiles explode in a cloud of anesthetic gas. Oh no, these are fired at the Rat Pack. And there they are, scooped up in the hand of Atlas. And number one's discharged his primary obligation and can now turn his thoughts to escape. So that's the guy with the moustache here. So here he is picking his way through the rubble, but he runs right into the tip of Citizen V's sword. Again, good afternoon. You know, that kind of phrasing, that also put me in mind of the politeness of V from Alan Moore's V for Vendetta. But here he is smiling here. "Your position is untenable, number one, and your prospect bleak. Might it suggest the time has come for an honourable surrender?" So number one says, you're right, you beat us square. I'll bring the boys in." So he exclaims here, "Rat Pack, and Mousehole, and he's gone. So that's pretty cool. So where are they gone? They're too big for Atlas to follow, but we can see here that he can shrink down. So they're gone. So bottom panel, end of the page, Atlas says they had the entrances rigged with explosives to collapse them and keep us from following. They're getting away clean. Don't worry, Atlas, says V. We've made our presence known and let these felons know that the city is under Thunderbolts protection. That'll do for now. So that's the end of Act 1, more or less, of this 38-page story. We have the Thunderbolts introduced, some pretty cool shots of them, posing and in action. We've learned all their code names and all their powers, but we don't know their civilian identities just yet. So now sirens are heard in the distance, getting louder as they approach, but without any captives to turn over to the police. The Thunderbolts see no point in waiting for them, and soon on the edge of one of the ravaged neighborhoods, in a block of buildings abandoned due to structural damage. So here they are in this pizzeria, Cellini's Pizzeria. I like the little sign there, closed due to Onslaught. And Mach 1 or Techno is saying, I still can't believe it. Out of all of Manhattan, we have to set up in a pit like this. You don't see other super teams living in garbage dumps, do you? Come on, there's hidden bases built by the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus all over the city. Why don't we just... And Citizen V says, we don't have the funding to maintain a high-tech base, Techno, and we are not going to hide in abandoned subways or warehouses. What matters is our mission, and this is fine for those purposes. And Techno was about to protest, but we could. Citizen V says nothing, but the look he gives Techno is enough to make the other man fall silent. And that's a look he's given him through an opaque mask as well. So that's a hell of a commanding look. But it's intriguing for readers at this point to conjecture, why is Techno made silent by Citizen V? What is the basis of his authority? And nearby, Mach 1 hangs up his wings and he says, look, Songbird, I want to thank you for saving my butt out there. I'm glad I could help, Mach 1, she says. And she continues, but I've got to tell you, I was really scared out there. So this is good, humanizing characterization of these two. They're not perfect. All the practice we put in, and I still wanted nothing but to run to get out of there. Just not sure I can do this, she says. And he replies, oh, you're a natural kid, you'll see. It takes some getting used to, but you'll snap into it, trust me. Tell you what, why don't we head out back and I'll show you some combat maneuvers. So off they go. I like the very slim body that Bagley has given Songbird. It's really well done and it suits her character as well, her willowy figure. Here's Meteorite, who's been watching them and listening in and thinking, pretty much strategically as well. That was fast even for her. I wonder if she even knows that she does it or why. Still, I suppose it's harmless. Nothing to concern myself about, but as long as we've got some downtime, I may as well check on the others. So Meteorite, what's her point there? That Songbird has made a friend in Mach 1, that he's taken a shine to her maybe a little bit romantically, and now he's taking her under his wing and she's going to get some special attention and protection and training from him. Atlas sits unmoving in the sturdiest of the furniture they scavenge from the wreckage. Meteorite watches for a few moments, then she asks him, something wrong? He replies, oh, you know what it is, it's Techno. His hot dogging out there could have gotten both of us killed. I'm a chain of command guy, Meteorite. I've been one since my military days. So a little hint there about his background, and he continues, I don't like not being able to depend on the others in my squad. A little typo there, missing T. And she replies, why don't you let Citizen V and me take care of that, Atlas? All you have to do is focus on the job. We'll take care of the big picture. So this implies that she is Citizen V's lieutenant on the team. Here's Techno with one of his robots that he's built. Meteorite asks him, what's this device doing here? Didn't we discuss this earlier? And he replies, come on, it's not hurting anything, is it? Surely we can have one small piece of luxury in this worthless, but she destroys it. And she says, the news helicopter saw us returning to our headquarters. They know where we live now. So clean up this mess or take it up with Citizen V. They'll be here soon. And he's always around. Here he says, correction, Meteorite, they're here now. Call the team together. So let's get past the advertisements here. Let's see. So there's a press conference. This is reminiscent of Avengers number 16. I mean the original one by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, where Captain America gave a press conference about the new configuration of the team. And yeah, that's what I'm reminded of. I'm pretty certain that Kurt Busiek is alluding to that here in this little scene. So there's lots of questions for the new team. Where did they come from? Someone asking, called you Citizen V any relation to? And I think that's an in-joke about Alan Moore's V for Vendetta. Question about government connections, New York's newest heroes. Citizen V takes charge. Please. We'll be glad to answer your questions, but please, one at a time. To begin, we are the Thunderbolts, in case you hadn't heard earlier. No, we don't have any government connections, and I wouldn't call us heroes myself. We're merely volunteers trying to do our best in a troubled world. Yes, I'm the grandson of the original Citizen V, who fought fascism during World War II. So I'm just wondering now, this was something it's popped into my mind. Was there a golden age Marvel Comics like Timely Comics character Citizen V? Must look that up. Who fought fascism during World War II. I hope I can do half as well as my grandfather did. And to introduce the others from left to right there, Techno, whose mentally controlled tech pack affords him access to an arsenal of thousands of weapons. Mach 1, who combines maneuverability with shattering firepower. So he's a bit like War Machine. Songbird, whose voice works wonders. So she's a little bit like Banshee or Siren. Atlas, the team's powerhouse. He's a lot like Giant Man. And Meteorite, who burns as bright and strikes as hard as her namesake. Now I'm sure you have other questions, and so they're going to come. So one of the newsmen asks if they're there to replace the Avengers and the FF. So he's quiet at that question, and then with a kind of a somber face, and again this is behind the mask, he says, and by the way, I like this panel, open border panel, and the designy effect with Citizen V's purple cape. So he says, no one can replace them. No one. The world has suffered a terrible, terrible loss, one that cannot be assuaged. All we Thunderbolts can do is try to help out as best we can. So he's winning the press over. One of the other reporters asks Atlas, I'm sure our viewers would like to know if your growing power is in any way connected to Dr. Henry Pym, who was both Ant-Man and Giant Man. And he begins to say, well, sorta. I mean, well, we've got to keep our identities and backgrounds a secret to give us more of an edge on the bad guys. You know how it is. And then one of them asks Meteorite, why are you doing this? A woman in such a dangerous world? And she replies, because it is a dangerous world, ma'am. For women and men, it's a dangerous world, and innocent people need someone to keep them safe. Interesting screen tone there in the background. And another reporter asks, why call yourself Thunderbolts? This is interesting too, and thoughtful from Kurt Busiek. So Citizen V replies, it's inspired by a poem. Thomas Randolph, a 17th century poet, wrote, justice, like lightning, ever should appear, to few men ruin, but to all men fear. Our hope is that we can be that lightning, that justice. So that's quite poetic. And the journalist says, okay, but why not something established? Why not call yourself the Avengers? And this is almost like maybe a conversation that was had at Marvel Editorial. And Citizen V replies, as I said before, the Avengers can't be replaced, and we don't presume to try. We wouldn't think of usurping their name or record. Whatever reputation we deserve will earn through our actions. And the reporter asks, you're all newcomers, why is that? Surely there are experienced existing heroes who could bring their skills to your team. And Citizen V has an answer to that. There are many more experienced heroes than us, and they're all quite busy, as any newspaper will show you. That's why we formed the Thunderbolts, to add to the ranks of the world's heroes, not simply to rearrange the players on the board. And that's the end of it. But let's make this less formal. We'll be able to answer more of your questions if we split. Oh no, it's not the end of it. So they're going to split up and let you interview us individually rather than as a group. And we're told he moves lithely, gracefully, and the reporters cluster around both him and the others. So now some individual questions here. So Mach 1 explains that his name is an acronym. It stands for Mobile Armored Cyber Harness, and basically anything a fighter jet can do, I can do in less than half the space. Songbird, she's kind of shy, not into public speaking. She wants to give a shout out to her mother. And then Techno, he's boastful, might call me the backbone of the team, he's saying. After all, if not for my engineering genius, some of the other members wouldn't even exist. And soon, the press are asking for photo opportunities and maybe some shots of the headquarters, and V puts them off. Certainly we have no secrets except our identities, of course. It's not much if you'll step this way. Okay, so he's going to give them an opportunity to go inside. But there is a complication. One of the reporters gets breaking news that the Rat Pack have been sighted several blocks south of where you fought them. So off they go. So they all look suitably heroic. Citizen V says, duty calls. Thunderbolts to the V wing. Let's see. Where are they going? So off they go. And they head down through Manhattan, and they encounter the Rat Pack there, who now have these harnesses, jetpacks that they used to fly. Mach 1 says those jetpacks aren't much, boss. They may outdistance the wing, but Meteorite and I. And Citizen V gives the order, stay close, Mach 1. I don't want the team getting separated and ambushed. This is all the air marks of a trap. But whoever's baited it is about to find out that the Thunderbolts are anything but easy prey. So they scream through the concrete canyons of mid-Manhattan, and in the office buildings that line their route, they're watched by all of these men and women who are amazed by them. The buzz builds, rippling almost tangibly through the city, a buzz of excitement, of hope. New York is heroes again. And here we have Dolores Reardon again. Isn't that her name? Yeah, Dolores, I think. Or is it? Let me just double check that. Back here. Where is she? What is her name again? Dallas Reardon. Right. So she's on the phone. She's on the phone to the mayor. And the mayor says to her, don't talk, Reardon. Listen. They're on every station and everyone's watching. The press love them, and so do the public. The Avengers were federal, but I want this team connected to the city. That's going to be your job. Got it? These Thunderbolts are going to be big. So she's got a smile on her face. She's going to be the liaison between the Thunderbolts and the mayor. And now we're down at the south of Manhattan, and of course the Twin Towers are still standing in 1997. You can see the Statue of Liberty out there as well. So nice establishing of location by Bagley. And who do the Thunderbolts run into? They run into the Wrecking Crew. So these are formidable villains, and exactly what was talked about at the beginning of the issue. Who's going to tackle the likes of these guys now that Thor and the Avengers aren't around? And they're boasting that they're back bigger and better and back in business. So the Wrecking Crew asks Techno, but we can't fight them. So his bravado's disappeared now. And what does Citizen V have to say? He says, dangerous, powerful felons, each with the brute power of an Asgardian god. That they may be, Techno, but fight them we shall, and defeat them as well. So now we get a real test of the Thunderbolts' mettle. Atlas landing in there on the Wrecking Crew, looking like he's enjoying things too. And so we have a fight going on over these couple of pages. And the Thunderbolts holding their own really well. Including, but it looks like Citizen V is about to be attacked here. Except that Atlas, now the team is kind of gelling. And they're watching out for each other's backs. So Citizen V calls out, Atlas behind you. Atlas turns. And yeah, so Thunderball hits him in the jaw. And now news cameras feed the images back to their studios and out to networks, to affiliates. So millions watch as Atlas goes down and doesn't come up. And they watch holding their breath, hoping for some sign of hope of victory. So it looks like the tide of battle is turning against the Thunderbolts. Meteorite taken out there. Major damage to the Statue of Liberty there. Her right arm and torch dissevered, severed from her from her upper arm, and so it looks like the Thunderbolts are being beaten. Citizen V exclaims no, and this guy's about to knock the Statue of Liberty over entirely. He says, "Stand back." He says here, "Looks like you're doing a great job of protecting the Republic from criminal scuzzbuckets like us, flagman. Well, stand back, because if they like that, they're going to love this." So let's see how this pans out. "Okay, Thunder chumps," says one of the wrecking crew. "Let's see what kind of heroes you really are. Surrender now, or we bring down the statue on national television." So Techno says it's only metal and stone but Citizen V is more cognizant of its significance. He says, "No, Techno, it's far more than that, far more. We can't fight them head to head. They're too powerful." So the wrecking crew, they're delighted, they're laughing gleefully there. But Mach 1 comes up from behind, and this is pretty funny. He shoots these grenades right into their mouths, and they're gas grenades. So that's pretty cool. And Citizen V congratulates Mach 1, saying knockout gas at such close quarters should take even them down. Songbird, see that it does, would you? So she uses her sonic scream, creating sound globes that trap the gas around the crew's heads. It's nowhere to go, nowhere but into their lungs. So now there's only one of them left, and he's looking aghast at the prospect of going one-on-one with Atlas. And Atlas is enraged. He says, "I almost died down there, bulldozer. Almost drowned. It's Thunderball I want to get my hands on, but you'll do." So is Citizen V going to allow Atlas to kill this guy? Well, he knocks him with a major punch there. That's nicely conveyed, the dynamism of that by Bagley and the pencils. Really knocks him flying in the air. Citizen V, smiling, says, "I don't think he'll be giving us any more trouble, Songbird. Why don't you go catch him before he leaves a crater in the South Bronx?" And as the Thunderbolts realize they've won, they hear a strange noise, a low rumble from all around them, rolling over the water of New York Bay. And it takes a few seconds to realize it's cheering. They're cheering for us, says Techno. And then there's finally time for the Thunderbolts to let up, to catch their breath, even if it doesn't last long. So Dallas Reardon arrives, introduces herself as being from the mayor's office, makes the offer. The mayor couldn't be here himself, but he asked me to come to thank you, to congratulate you, to welcome you to the city, and to offer you whatever assistance we can. And Atlas takes a shine to her. She's gorgeous, he thinks to himself. So that's a plot thread set up for the future. And Citizen V takes her hand. "We're honoured, Ms. Reardon. I'm sure we'll have much to discuss in time, but for now, the Thunderbolts still have work to do." And the news reporter wraps up here. "And as police took the unconscious wrecking crew into custody, securing them with shackles provided by the high security super prison known as the Vault, the Thunderbolts once more swung into action." And that could be the end of it. Like, that could be our first issue, our introduction to the characters. But we turn the page to the last couple of pages. Oh, no, they're coming up. Not yet. So the Thunderbolts help repair the Statue of Liberty there. And their popularity grows. You can see there's t-shirts and ties and badges and baseball caps being sold with their logo. And we even have an appearance by Spider-Man. So Mark Bagley, of course, an artist, had been an artist on The Amazing Spider-Man, does a very good job. Wasn't he an artist too on The New Warriors? So these are characters he's previously drawn. So Spider-Man says, "Believe me, The Wrecking Crew are no pushovers, and I've got reason to know after the way the T-Bolts handled them. Well, they're okay in my book. So the Thunderbolts have got Spider-Man's seal of approval. What about the New Warriors? Night Thrasher says, we've been working round the clock since the Onslaught tragedy. We're delighted to have some help. The more the merrier. And the Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, she wasn't taken over to the Heroes Reborn Pocket Universe. And she's asked her opinion of the Thunderbolts. And she is a little cagier. I think it's a very good thing, she says, that new champions arise when others have fallen. Now, if you'll excuse me, so she's not too keen to talk to the news reporters. And here we go. Now, I feel that this should have been held to here, and it should have been on a page turn. But anyway, this was the big twist back in 1997. Nobody was ready for this on the basis of what had been read of the first appearance of the Thunderbolts in Incredible Hulk 449. And this was a big shock, and I remember it. I was surprised. I didn't know this was coming at the end of the issue. So, the news reporter says about the repair work on the Statue of Liberty, that the unions are going to overlook the Thunderbolts' non-union repair of the statue. Techno says, well, I should think so. And Citizen V arrives, and look, his face is in silhouette. A triumph indeed, he says. Even those paid to object to our actions welcome us. Truly, we have succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. And then they're looking at him. So Songbird has never seen his real face before. And you can see how badly burned it is. And reminding, of course, of readers at this time of Al Simmons' Spawn's face. Not a pretty sight, is it? Citizen V asks. And, of course, also, V for Vendetta also had a fire-damaged face in Alan Moore and David Lloyd's graphic novel of the same name. Not a pretty sight, is it? He asks. You would prefer it remain hidden behind a mask, eh? Very well, he says. So what's this costume hanging in the closet? But not the mask millions have come to trust today. Instead, I'll wear a rather older mask. A mask with darker associations. The mask of Helmut, 13th Baron Zemo, and the leader of the Masters of Evil. You've all done well, my Thunderbolts, or perhaps I should use your other code names. Fixer, Beetle, Screaming Mimi, Goliath, and Moonstone. And we saw Moonstone earlier, pictured as one of the Masters of Evil. In time, my friends, the world will discover what a viper it has clasped to its breast, but by then it will be too late. Far too late. And remember this girl from earlier? And in a dank, fetid cell, miles from the city, Hallie Takahama prays desperately for anyone to save her, but her prayers remain unanswered. So who's holding her prisoner? And you can just about make out the teaser for the next issue beneath the barred window here. Next, Secret Identities. So like I said, back in 1997, this was a big twist. It took me by surprise. It certainly is a hell of a hook to get a reader to pick up the next issue. Completely unexpected. And yeah, so this is the origin of the Thunderbolts IP, so to speak, and the origin of, ultimately, genealogically speaking, the current Marvel movie in the cinemas. So let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. Did you pick this up at the time? What were your thoughts on it? In the period when the Avengers and the Fantastic Four were not in the regular Marvel universe. How do you think it stands up to this day? Yeah, let me know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.